class, although we are not lagging behind our lectures or with our topics, but the purpose of having a class over here at this moment of time is that I wanted to do some questions related to assignment number 4. I wanted to give you hints about how to do some of the questions because I feel we have not practiced enough, and you might not be able to grasp the concept behind solving those problems. So what I will do is, since I've covered Turing machines, post machines, and two PDAs or NPDAs, I will be solving three problems for you. Maybe solving is not the right word. I will be giving you hints on how to solve those problems. We will discuss the algorithm to solve those problems using these three machines. I will not be designing the machines for you, but I will just be conveying the algorithm, how we will be solving them. So this is my objective of keeping the class, and I'm recording it. So in case you don't understand anything, you can always refer to it. And having said this, you are free to come up with your own version of your solution, right? So this is one of the versions that one of the solutions that you can use to solving that problem. However, you are open to come up with any other algorithm. Some updates from assignment number 4. Some problems I would be removing from assignment number 4, and I will be modifying them and sharing them via Google Classroom, because some questions require techniques that we have still not done. For example, the problem of factorial, problem of square or square root. So these are some of the problem of primes. These three problems will be eliminated from now, but I will keep them open for future homework that you will be you may do once we have reached the a topic where these particular problems are tackled. Okay, so let's begin with our first problem, which is the double word. I will share the assignment with you as well, so we have a good idea. So this was your assignment. I have modified it. Um, I will be removing NPDA because you don't need multiple PDAs. Uh, in double word, although all of these problems can be done by two PDAs, but sometimes it becomes easier if we just employ a little another PDA. So for double word, maybe you can use, three PDA might be helpful, right? Three or two PDA. I can just modify it. 2 PDA or 3 PDA. Okay, you may use 3 PDA for it. More A, you will just be using 2 PDA. A and B and C and D and E, this is also doable by 2 PDA. Problem of unequal is also doable by 2 PDA. Very equal is very equal. So I think for very equal, you might use, I will be giving you the option of using 2 PDA or 3 PDA, right? These three ones I will be highlighting, and I'll be sharing that you may not submit them in with assignment number 4. However, you may practice them once we've covered the topic of computable functions, which we'll be covering in the next week. That will be a second lecture in the next week. Parenthesis is also doable by 1 stack, 2 stack se bhi ho jayega. And then this 2 raised to power, a raised to power, 2 raised to power n is also doable by 2 PDA, Turing machine and post machine. Today, I will be sharing algorithms for the complex problems that we have not looked at. For example, problem of very equal is something that we have discussed before. This problem of A and B and C and D and E and Fn is also that we have discussed before. More A should also not be a problem, right? More A is where you have one more A, at least one more A than the number of B's. And the problem of unequal is also discussed. Parenthesis bhi humne last class mein we did solve, right? So I think that I will be sharing how to solve the problem of double word, problem of I think I'll share double word and a raised to power 2 raised to power n, right? Which means that a comes in powers of 2's. right? So that these are the, I think this makes it two problems, right? So I'll be sharing two problems, right? So that drills down to just two problems. Okay. Anybody has any questions you may, or any clarification that you require, you may ask now. एक्सटेंड कर दें, चलिए वो एक्सटेंड करने वाला काम भी किया जा सकता है, कोई मसला नहीं। आप लोग कोशिश करें ना, तो आई एम नॉट रियली श्योर, सर से भी मुझे बात करनी पड़ेगी, देखना पड़ेगा। I will stop presenting from here. Yes, I'm also using this time to log in from my iPad, right? Okay, let's first start with the problem of double word. Okay, so no matter what machine we will use, okay, the concept, the solution is also discussed in your book, but I will do it for all the three problems for you. And if you want, you can also, we can also have an extra class on solving problems by using all the three machines. So the benefit of solving one problem by all three machines at a given time is that you understand uh, uh, the detailed intricacies that are attached to every machine. This is the best way to learn this part of the course, by solving a given problem using any of the, using all the three machines, right? Having said this, मुझे ये भी ख्याल आया कि आपको इसमें you are allowed to use, अगर आप Turing machine use कर रहे हैं, so you are allowed to use insert and delete because they are complex problems, I understand, right? 2 PDA में तो there is no overloaded function या sub program कोई नहीं है. If using post machine, तो post machine में you can use add front, ठीक है, जिसमें आप क्यू के एंड पे तो डालते ही हैं, टेल पे you also add it at the head, or you read from the read back वाला जो फंक्शन था जो हमने लास्ट टाइम किया था. So if using post machines, there's all these two things are also allowed. ये मैं आपकी assignment में update करके I will also share with Dr. Wasim, or that will be shared across the board. And we will be solving this problem and the other problem, which is when A's are going to be in powers of twos. Turing machine, post machine, and double word के लिए I will use the luxury of using 3PD. Right? That's मुझे एक step पे I think it's going to be making my life simpler अगर मैं इसके लिए 3 PDs use कर सकती हूँ, हालांकि it is doable by 2 PDs. ओके, ये हमारी कुछ चीजें हो गई. अब हम देखते हैं कि डबल वर्ड बेसिकली है क्या. डबल वर्ड बेसिकली मीन्स यू हैव अ वर्ड. ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल you have a word, any word, it is written twice, so this is a double word. It is unlike your palindrome where the second half actually is a mirror image. Double word में मसला ये है कि when you're reading the stream of letters, you don't really know when your double word is going to begin, this next word is going to begin. So for example, if I have this word, right, and it's doubled when you're reading, right, whether you're reading it from the tape जो Turing machine की है, you're reading it onto a queue that is associated to post machine उसकी है, या you're reading it from 2 PDA or multiple PDAs. The trouble is you will not know that this is where my middle point lies, right? We have been able to solve the problem of palindrome because it was also hard for us to know exactly where is the middle point. We were able to solve it using non-determinism in PDAs. There was no other way we could solve it using PDAs except for using non-determinism. And that was the place where we realized that the power of non-deterministic PDAs is more than power of deterministic PDAs. However, this is not the case in Turing machines. Although we will just be covering the regular Turing machines, the deterministic Turing machines, it is known that power of non-deterministic Turing machines is also the same as a deterministic Turing machine. It is equivalent to saying that if you had deterministic FA, its power is the same as the non-deterministic FA. इसी तरह से deterministic Turing machines power is the same as the non-deterministic Turing machine. So even if we employ non-determinism, we will still not be able to um, no, we will be able to, but we need to know the middle point, right? So for now we are using deterministic Turing machine. I will give you a couple of seconds. You may think of the algorithm that we can employ so that we can find this middle point, and we know that this A has to be matched with this A with this A, B with B, and A with A, right? So anybody. आप इसमें माइंड में रखें कि आपने असल में करना क्या है, ठीक है? आई एम गोइंग टू बी कलरिंग इट इन टू डिफरेंट वेज, राइट? अब आप याद रखें कि no matter what methodology you're using, I mean what machine you're using, whether using a tape of a Turing machine, ठीक है, or using a queue of a post machine, or using a tape and stacks, read के लिए tape और उसके लिए stacks of, मैं इसको 3 PDA कर लेती हूँ, PDA, कुछ भी करें, जो underlying concept है that will remain the same. Checks the next letter as well. नहीं, इसमें नहीं पता चलेगा. If you're looking at this A and you read this A, so you don't know if this is the beginning. That's just, you just don't have any way of differentiating that this is where your middle point lies. There's no way you can find out. Even if you keep track of 3 elements, but how do you know? Maybe the string is very long, 1 million letters long. Then how many letters would you be keeping track of, right? Okay, अब मैं थोड़ा सा, I'll just give you a hint so that you can maybe jog your minds and come up with an answer. ऐसा करें कि इस साइड से चलें, ठीक है? When you start from the left, ठीक है? You start converting your A's to capital A and your B's to capital B. You reach to the end, whether this is any machine. When you start from this side, like going to the left, you change your A's to X's and your B's to Y's. So one change from here, one change from here, one change from here, one change from here. करते 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 ऐसा होगा, you will just have A's and B's on the left hand side and X's and Y's on the right hand side. So this exercise will help you know that this is my border where my X's start and my Y's start, and I'm leaving my A's and B's behind. And then I can cancel my A's with my X's and my B's with my Y's. Anybody can reiterate or explain me again how it is solved? Okay, I will solve this very example using Turing machine. Okay, you just have to, and you're going to solve this using the method that I've just explained. Yes, we have to divide into two parts. If we don't, then how will we match the first letters with each other and the second letters with each other, right? So we have no way of knowing where's this middle part, right? So we have to divide it in two parts, and then we have to match the first letter with the first, and second with the second, and third with the third, and so on. Okay. So let's do it with the Turing machine. What I have with me is a tape, right? So अब आपको पता है हमें एक काम करना है, वो ये है कि हमें सबसे पहले इंसर्ट करना है, सॉरी, सबसे पहले हमें इंसर्ट करना है, राइट, एक हैश हमें ऐड करना है सो दैट वी डोंट crash into the end of the Turing machine, the dead end of the Turing machine. Okay, so your tape head should be here. If you read an A, you should convert read an A, overwrite it with capital A, and move to the right. Keep on moving to the right until you hit a null. Move to the left. You should be whatever you read. It shouldn't be A exactly. So if it's an A, you replace it by X, right? Keep on going to the end until you find a capital letter, whether that's a capital A or a capital B. You come here, you override this B by a capital B. Then you keep on hopping, trotting to your right until you hit a capital X or Y. You come one step back, convert that A to X. Then you trot back until you hit a capital letter, capital AB. You head one step to the right, convert, if it's an A, convert it to capital A. Then you trot again, convert this B into the capital version, right hand side का जो उसका replacement है, that is Y. You trot back again on the left hand side, A that is encountered, you come one step to the right, convert that A into its corresponding, which is capital A. Again, you trot to the right until you hit X or Y, and then you have whatever you run into, you convert that into capital X or capital Y, right? And now when you try to hit back, what you run into is a capital A, right? And then you want to start again, and what you find is again a capital letter X. It means that your first part of dividing your string into two distinct parts has been done, right? Now what you can do is you can start using this concept of hash. You can come to the beginning of your string. Now what you need to do is what you read. Now you remember. So we are going to do one pass in every iteration. Okay, first there's only going to be one pass. So in the first iteration, which the first iteration, so the only pass in the iteration is whatever you read. So I read an A. What I do is I can probably replace it by a steric, or maybe I can call delete. I should happily be calling a delete over here, ताकि we don't have any traces or leftovers or clutter in the string. So we simply delete it and we move to the right until we hit the first X or Y. So if we had read a capital A, we have to remember we should be seeing an X at the beginning. If we do read an X, तो हमें इसको क्या करना है? हमें इसको करना है delete. If you want, तो you can always replace it by some other symbol. It could be steric, hash, whatever. Hash तो नहीं था, steric, dollar. But you don't really need to differentiate. You can keep the same letter, overwriting letter anywhere, right? Having done this, this means your first path is over, right? Now this is over. You come back. उसके बाद, if you use delete, you should be hitting a hash. You come back. What you find is a capital B, right? So आप उसको क्या करें? Again, you call delete onto it. You go ahead, and the first X or Y that you should run into is, because you write a capital B, it should be Y. You also call delete onto it, then you come back, karte, this A cancels this X, and then this A cancels this X, and all you're left with on the string is this, tape is this, and some. If this is what you're left with, then you should happily accept saying that the string that was given was a valid word in my language. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, that's great. What I will do is I will do the same concept on Turing on post machine and on also on 3 stack PDA. अच्छा, सबसे पहले मैं इसमें करते हैं हम इसमें करते हैं पोस्ट मशीन में करते हैं, राइट? सो पोस्ट मशीन में लेटर क्या था? आई थिंक ये थी हमारी स्ट्रिंग, राइट? अच्छा, अब इसमें आप क्या करेंगे? इसमें आप ऑफ कोर्स आपको पता है द ओनली वे वी कैन सेपरेट the two strings of two iterations is by, because there's just one queue on which we have to do the processing, in which we take the input and on which we leave the output. So the only way we can separate them is by having a marker. So it can be a dollar or it can be a hash. The first step is that you put a hash. So I am doing a post machine. So the first letter that I read, okay, so what I do is I read and I add it to the end as an A, right? And then I don't read, but I read in, like in the last class, I read two letters and then decide of the previous letter. So I read this B, do not add until I confirm this is the last the letter. So what I'll do is once I read this A, I will add this B. Then I read this A to decide this A has to be added. It's not the last one. I read this A and I read this A and decide the fate of this A. This B and add this A. This A and add this B. This A and add this A. And once I hit a hash, it means this A was the last one, right? So in the first iteration is the hash that is going to be deciding. In the other iterations, my capital X or my capital Y is going to be deciding whether I'm going to be replacing it with a capital X or capital Y. So I will replace it by X. So I'm going to, this is going to finish, and then once I have the string, so मेरी updated string क्या बन जाएगी? I will be copying here. I will again start with a hash. So I will copy the capital letters as it is. The first non-capital letter that I read, I'm going to be adding the जो मैंने decide किया था that letter. Then I'm going to start reading in groups of twos. ठीक है? I'm going to be deciding कि मुझे क्या करना है, right? So reading this, don't know. One read this, decide this has to be added like this. So read this and decide this has to be added like this. And then read this to add this, right? And then read A to decide B. And then run into capital X or capital Y. It means this A has to be converted to capital X. उसके बाद इस X को copy किया and then hash किया and then you're good to go, right? करते करते आपको पता है what you will be left with is, right? So what you will do is, so that is part number one. We're coming up with the boundaries so that you know where is the boundary for the beginning of the second occurrence of the word, right? अब आप क्या करेंगे? It's a queue again. You will read, ठीक है, first letter. It should be an A or a B, ठीक है, या null होना चाहिए. And you don't add. ये sorry ये तो डाल देंगे. Copy the rest A's and B's. Wait for the first X or Y. So अगर आपने A read किया है, the first X or Y that you run into should be X, right? And you don't add, and you add the rest. Right? फिर दोबारा आप क्या करें? मैं अगला iteration लिखूं.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, how will we know that we're comparing our A's with X or A should be compared with Y?
ये हमने अभी डन किया है. अगर मैं इसको दो पार्ट्स में कहूँ तो यहाँ पे my small a became equal to A and my small b became equal to B, right? और यहाँ पे my small a became equal to X and my small b became equal to Y. You can use other notations too, but that just to separate that you shouldn't be replacing all A's with A's, because you will not know when is the second occurrence of the of the word, right? That's why you're marking, giving different marks to occurrences of small letter A and occurrences of small letter B. ये यही बात है कि पहले वर्ड में फर्स्ट occurrence में आएंगे तो you're going to replace them by capital A's B's, and if they're coming in the second occurrence, so you're replacing them by X and Y's. But you have to make sure if the first letter matches with the first letter over there. So this A matches with this A over there. This B matches with the second letter. Third matches with the third, and fourth with the fourth. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, I had another question. For example, when we're at the start of the tape, we don't know if right now we're supposed to compare or we're supposed to change. Like the machine will not know. For example, how will we know that if we're at the first A, capital A, and the second letter is the capital B, how will we know that we have any more small letters left, or right now we're supposed to just begin comparing?
I know that's a very interesting question. Actually, this is what we do all the time. When we write a program, we conveniently write, two functions for it. So one is responsible for, if you just think about a computer science person, so what I will do is I'll write two functions. In the first function, I'll simply mark them with capital A's, capital B's, X's and Y's. And once that's done, I will give that updated input to the new one, which is going to compare, right? So you will also do the same, that the output of the first iteration or first function is going to become the input of the second one. Here you will not have explicit functions, but because of the flow, right? So when you start with this, जब आप बनाएंगे अपनी तो doing this, उसके बाद जब आप next पे जाएंगे तो you start your next further processing, right? That's how you're going to make sure that first you mark them with A's and B's and X and Y's, and then you start comparing your A's with X and your B's with Y's. Now, does
Thank
that
you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
ओके अब हम क्या करेंगे ये आ गया हमारा भी राइट हम यहाँ तक पहुंचे थे नहीं सॉरी आई थिंक यहाँ तक पहुंचे हम सो वी हैव राइट सो व्हाट नाउ वी डू इज अच्छा अब इसमें हम क्या करेंगे कि what we'll do is we'll read. So the first letter that we read, okay, we have to append this. First letter that we read is a B. So we'll keep on adding the rest of the capital A's and B's onto the Q until we reach the first X or Y. और क्योंकि हमने B किया है, आपको याद होगा हम फ्लो के थ्रू याद करते हैं कि अगर हम B रीड कर आए हैं तो हमें यहाँ से Y ही मिलना चाहिए. So जब आपको Y मिलेगा तो what you will do is that you will discard it. You'll say, okay, this B has been matched with this. And then you add the rest of the X's and then you go on, right? So when nothing is left on your, आपकी उस पे सिर्फ nulls रह जाएं, कुछ भी ना हो तो it means the word was your double word, right? अच्छा अब थर्ड इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम है मैं थर्ड करा देती हूँ यूजिंग द सेम प्रॉब्लम यूजिंग 3 stack PDA, right? ओके 3 stack PDA में क्या है आई एम यूजिंग 3 stacks because just for convenience आपको भी बताती हूँ कि मुझे तीसरे की क्यों जरूरत पड़ी है. So, this is the tape, but that's a one-time read-only tape, and I can't just go back to it. I can't go back and forth. So the storage material or storage data structure that I have are the 3 stacks. So this is my stack number 1, stack number 2, and stack number 3. So what I do is, जब भी मैं stack number 1 में डालूंगी तो मैं पहले लेटर को चेंज करूंगी x में, और जब stack number 2 में डालूंगी तो पहले लेटर को मैं चेंज करूंगी सॉरी पहले लेटर को मैं चेंज नो इसमें डालूंगी तो पहले लेटर को मैं चेंज करूंगी कैपिटल ए कैपिटल बी. आई विल जस्ट डू इट ताकि कोई कंफ्यूजन बोलने में रहना. So the first letter that I read, I did not copy, I replaced it by A. Read and copy, read and copy, read and copy. Like push, right? तो मैं कॉपी बोल रही हूँ तो मैं गलत बोल रही हूँ, राइट? आई डू दैट and then I empty the contents of stack number 1 onto stack number 2. Now what I do is when I go to stack number 2, whatever is at the top, right, I replace it by x and y, right? So मैं क्या करूँगी, this a is going to be replaced by x and the rest gets copied. So b a a b a and capital A, right? अब मैं दोबारा से इनकी बनाती हूँ 3 stacks, ठीक है? अब आप याद रखें जब आप इधर से इधर जाएंगे तो आप कन्वर्ट कर रहे होंगे फर्स्ट वाले जो टॉप पे है, पहला जो ए और बी स्मॉल आता है उसको एक्स वाई में कर रहे होंगे, और जब यहाँ से यहाँ डालेंगे तो उनको आप ए और बी में कन्वर्ट करेंगे, ठीक है? अब दिस ए इज गोइंग टू गेट कॉपीड ओवर हियर, ठीक है? दोबारा से मैंने बनाया द फर्स्ट स्मॉल लेटर दैट वी इनकाउंटर, आई एम गोइंग टू बी कन्वर्टिंग इट टू कैपिटल ए एंड द रेस्ट आई विल कॉपी बी ट्रिपल ए b and x, right? और यहाँ पे जब मैं वापस डालूंगी तो what I will do is that I will copy x and y's until I hit the first.
मैम ये पार्ट रिपीट कर दें, आपने जो भी स्टैक 1 में दोबारा पुश किया।
जी बेसिकली मैं क्या कर रही हूँ, मैं क्या कर रही हूँ कि मैं आई एम जस्ट प्लेइंग विद द टॉप मोस्ट स्मॉल लेटर, ठीक है? सो मैं इस वाले को जो है जब टॉप पे आता है एक स्टैक में करेंगे तो दिस इज गोइंग टू बी एट द टॉप, एक स्टैक में करेंगे तो दिस इज गोइंग टू बी ऑन द टॉप, ठीक है? तो मैंने ऐसे करना है कि इस वाले पार्ट में जो पहले स्मॉल लेटर्स आएंगे इसमें मुझे कैपिटल एज और बीज में करना है, और यहाँ पे जो टॉप पर आएंगे बिकॉज स्टैक कंप्लीटली रिवर्सेस द स्ट्रिंग, राइट? सो व्हेन दिस इज गोइंग टू बी ऑन द टॉप, आप ऐसे भी देख सकते हैं, सॉरी वो टेढ़ा ही नहीं हुआ, सो so basically what you can do is इसको रोटेट करके देखें, so when this is at the top, so A टॉप पर है, B नीचे है और फिर नीचे है, so यहाँ से जब आप देखेंगे you'll convert it to x's and y's, और जब इस साइड को when this is like the top of your stack, then you should be converting the topmost small letter A into A and B's. Does that clarify?
यस मैम।
एल्गोरिथम हमारा वही है, लेकिन हमें टेलर करना पड़ा है अकॉर्डिंग टू डिफरेंट मशीन्स, राइट? सो करते करते होगा क्या, जब हम ये रिपीटेड स्टेप करेंगे तो हमारे पास एंड पर ये हो जाएगा, बिकॉज आई एम शॉर्ट ऑफ स्पेस. What will happen is that in one of my stacks, ठीक है? अब मैं exactly इस वक्त तो नहीं बता सकती कौन से स्टैक में, लेकिन एक मेरे स्टैक में कुछ ऐसा होगा कि I will have A, या प्लीज करके देख लीजिएगा A होगा कि, लेकिन मोस्ट लाइकली मैं से स्टैक नंबर 2 में शायद ऐसा हो, B A X X B और सॉरी B लिखती है, इट्स X X Y और X है, right? So now it has been divided into two parts. What you will do is आप इसको empty करेंगे all your x's into the other stack, right? Now you have two separate occurrences, first occurrence in this and the second occurrence in this. However, the trouble is why I required the third stack was that this is inverted, ठीक है? यानी कि अगर मैंने लिखा हुआ है ऑटो लिखा हुआ है, ठीक है? सो ये जो है ये मेरी इस फॉर्म में है, ठीक है? सो मैं टॉप पे मेरे स्टैक में ओ और ए है, वो कि मैं कंपेयर नहीं कर सकती, बिकॉज यू नो स्टैक ऑलवेज गोज विद व्हाटएवर इज एट द हेड. सो मैं क्या करूंगी, आई विल रिक्वायरिंग अनदर स्टैक, सो आई विल रिवर्स द स्ट्रिंग x x y and x, ठीक है? अब क्या होगा, आई कैन मैच दिस a with this x, this b with this y, this a with this x and this a, right? So if they are the same, they correspond to each other, it means this was a valid double word word from my language, right? Is that clear? एक बात है, डबल वर्ड की मशीन बना लेंगे ना, उसके बाद आपको कोई मशीन मुश्किल लगेगी नहीं, ये मेरी गारंटी है. डबल वर्ड की पोस्ट मशीन बना लें, ट्यूरिंग मशीन बना लें, 3 स्टैक पीडीए बना लें, आप कहेंगे मैम कुछ भी मशीन जो है ना वो मेरे से बनवा ले, अब हम बना लेंगे, राइट?
मैम ये प्रॉब्लम क्या 2 PDA से भी सॉल्व हो सकती है डबल वर्ड की?
टू पीडीए से सॉल्व हो तो सकती है, लेकिन उसमें फिर ये कि जो रिवर्स करने वाला ये स्टेप है ना,
यस
दैट
मैम।
ये
ये
मुश्किल
सिचुएशन।
हमें करेगा ये इसका, क्योंकि इसके ऊपर डालेंगे तो हमें उसके लिए फिर और कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लॉजिक लगानी पड़ेगी हमें इसमें ना। सो कर तो सकते हैं, बट दैट विल बी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड। इंशाल्लाह आगे जाके हम फिर कभी कोई टाइम मिला तो वी विल डिस्कस इट, राइट।
ओके मैम।
चलें जी, अब लास्ट हम लोग सेकंड प्रॉब्लम पे चलते हैं, उसको सॉल्व करते हैं यूजिंग ऑल द थ्री मशीन्स। So the other problem that I chose was a raised to power, कौन सी थी ठहरे, let me check, a raised to power 2 raised to power 2 raised to power n, ठीक है, which means a raised to power 2 raised to power 0, a raised to power 2 raised to power 1, a raised to power 2 raised to power 2, a raised to power 2 तो वो है ना constant, so what you're playing around is the powers of 2's, a raised to power 1, a raised to power 2, a raised to power 4, 8 and so on, ठीक है। So it's not double, it is actually powers of 2's, right? So that's something that we need to remember. So ये बनेगा कैसे, it will be a is the problem statement clear to everybody? अच्छा, अगर क्लियर है तो मुझे बताएंगे कि इसको कैसे सॉल्व करेंगे। Hint, what is the property of playing in powers of 2's? That same property is going to help us solve this problem. Yes, it can be divided by 2's, right? So हम अब क्या करेंगे, अगर मैं ट्यूरिंग मशीन बनाऊंगी, ठीक है, सो बड़ा ही आसान सा एक काम हो जाएगा। सो ट्यूरिंग मशीन बनाऊंगी, इससे पहले हैश लगा लें, ठीक है। सो मैं हाफ में कन्वर्ट करूंगी, यानी कि मैं दो को रीड करूंगी, एक को डिलीट कर लूंगी, एक को रख लूंगी, ठीक है। दो को रीड करूंगी, एक को डिलीट कर दूंगी, एक को रख लूंगी, राइट। सो मेरी टेप ऐसी बन जाएगी, मैं ट्यूरिंग मशीन की बात करूँ, राइट। आई विल हैव डबल ए, फिर दो को रीड करूंगी, एक को डिलीट कर दूंगी, एक को रख लूंगी, ठीक है। एंड पे अगर मेरे पास ए बच जाए तो दैट शुड बी द आंसर, राइट, बिकॉज दैट इज 2 raised to power 0. ओके, सो दिस शुड बी एंडिंग पॉइंट। ओके, मेरा अब आप लोगों से सवाल ये है कि लेट्स से आपकी टेप है जिसमें एक इवन नंबर पड़ा है, ठीक है, और मैं अगर इस पे ये वाली टेक्निक लगाऊं, एक दो रीड करूं, एक को रखूं, एक को डिस्कार्ड कर दूं, दो रीड करूं, एक को रखूं, एक को डिस्कार्ड कर दूं, डिस्कार्ड यानी कि डिलीट कर दूं, सो मेरे पास ये बच गया, राइट। और अब मैं क्या करूं कि एक को रखूं और एक को डिस्कार्ड कर दूं, सॉरी, एक को रखूं और एक को डिस्कार्ड कर दूं, सो मेरे पास ये रह जाएगा डबल ए, और किया तो फिर वही रह गया। सो 6 एज भी एक्सेप्ट हो रहे हैं और मेरे यानी कि मेरे इवन नंबर ऑफ एज एक्सेप्ट हो रहे हैं। क्या चीज है जिसका मुझे ख्याल रखना है, सो दैट आई मेक श्योर दैट इट्स नॉट ओनली द इवन नंबर्स but also just the powers of 2's that are accepted and not the even numbers. जी, उसमें ये कि जब आप ग्रुप्स बनाएंगे, जैसे आपने एक को रिमूव किया और एक को रखा, जब इसका पेयर देखेंगे आप, you will not find it. So the only odd number that you allow is a single occurrence of a letter. So you're always looking for their partners when you are looking for more than one letter, right? If there's a dangling stray alone letter, it means your machine is going to crash. ये आपका check रहेगा. Okay. So this is how you will solve using a Turing machine. ये हमारी Turing machine से solve हो गई. अब हम इसको solve कर लेते हैं using post machine. अच्छा, ये जितनी आसान लग रही है ना, मैं बना के दे रही हूँ ना, तो उतनी आसान है ना, उतनी आसान बनेगी. So highly advise that you try grasping the concept yourself and also try पहले आप ड्राई रन करें, उसके बाद आप उसकी मशीन बनाएं. So let's solve it using a post machine. Post machine में भी आप यही काम करेंगे, right? So let's say if this is your string that you're looking at, add a separator, ठीक है? Read in groups of twos, read two but add one, read two but add one, ठीक है? And then end. दोबारा से start किया, read two but add one. So if this is the only one left, then you should accept. अच्छा, और अगर जैसे मैं 6 की बात करी थी, जो कि नहीं चलना चाहिए, आप क्या करेंगे? Read twos, add one, read twos but add one, read twos but add one, ठीक है? Done. यहाँ से नई आइट्रेशन शुरू हो गई. अब आप क्या करेंगे? Read twos, right, and one. 2 में करेंगे तो ये क्रैश कर जाएगा यहाँ पे, right? Because now you started reading for groups of 2, right? Is everybody clear on this? अच्छा, अब मेरे ख्याल से 2 स्टैक पीडीए तो आप लोगों के लिए कोई मसला ही नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसा ही है? ओके, सो लेट्स से आपके 2 स्टैक पीडीए में आपको पता है टेप रीड ओनली होती है. एक स्टैक इधर आ गया, दूसरा स्टैक इधर आ गया. सो व्हाट यू डू इज read 2 letters but add 1, read 2 letters but add 1, ठीक है? अब इसमें भी it was a chance कि it was a smaller string, तो आप क्या करेंगे? इससे इससे और इसमें इसमें करते जाएंगे until you will be left with just one letter. बार बार repeated करेंगे. So these two and one. When only one is left, then you will accept. ठीक है? और वो केस कि अगर आपके 6 आ जाए, let's say आपके पास 6 है, right? So what you will do is, मैं इसको दोबारा नीट कर लेती हूँ. अगर ऐसी सिचुएशन है तो फिर आप क्या करेंगे? आपको तब भी आपको अपने प्रोग्राम में ये डालनी पड़ेगी that it should actually crash. Read 2 but add 1, read 2 but add 1, read 2 but add 1. So basically we're going with the concept of doing the half of the things. So when you are able to read 2, you should add 1, and if you read 1 and don't read the corresponding, your machine should crash. So this is the tricks and the concept that I think I think will help you in coming up with the machines for not only these 2 languages, but also the machines for the other languages that are mentioned in the assignment. Having said this, I must mention that these were the most complicated of the problems that are given in your assignment number 4. I purposely kept this class at this time so you are able to grasp the hardest ones, and once you're done these, you will be finding it much easier to cover the other languages that have been mentioned in your assignment.